here. I was so interested in seeing what him and Quinn Ewers do this year. There's been so much hype.
We have a pretty dangerous running back in Blake Corum.
Maryland's gone. Talia Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
A little too backyard footballers.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And you see who I'm with, ladies and gentlemen. You see who I'm with, my guy and host of Restoring the Roar, Alex Loosemore. What up, Alex?
Not too much, man. Excited to get into the rest of the big guys on the offensive side of the ball and kind of see where we got these guys hashing out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because, we need that interior O-line. Because if you don't have that, your quarterback is done for. Them guards and that center, man. Oh, my goodness. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again going through some pre-draft analysis, talking about players. We've looked into the quarterbacks. We've looked into the running backs. As Alex talked about last time, we went to those O-linemen, but specifically the tackles. Well, this week, we're going into another position. We're going to stay with the O-line, but we're going right in the middle. We're going to those interior guys, the meat grinders. And I gotta begin. So I'm gonna lead my guy in because he had a segment during the season, and forgive that background real quick. But he had a segment during the season and went a little something like this. Yeah, buddy. Loose Lures lineman. For those of you that don't know, my guy was a protector. Okay, he took care of the quarterback. He opened holes for the running back. He knows what needs to be done. And after he was a player, my man came back to coach, still being a part of it. Okay, and don't let him fool you over here. I know he's calm right now, but this man coaches on a daily because he's like me. All right, he's always looking for opportunity to coach, watch film, study stuff. That's why I like this guy, man. That's why I like him, Alex. Let's go right into it. Let's talk about the position that you absolutely love the most and the position that I loved as a running back, the O-line. Yeah. Let's go. Draft analysis. We're going to look at the top interior linemen. Talk to me, man. And first, before we get to the actual guys, what is it that makes a good interior O-lineman?
Interior lineman's a lot more physicality. These guys got to be nasty. They got to be gritty. You got to be able to, like, the interior defensive line, those are some big boys. You got to be able to manhandle those guys, move them around. You got to be sneaky athletic, too. Because a lot of these offenses, they like to pull those outside zones. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to have that really good footwork, be able to quickly move and reach out to guys and kind of get them moving sideline to sideline. And, it takes a special breed to play on the interior. Oh, yeah. Because you're right in the trenches. And I mean, deep in the muck, your fingers are going into the mud. Oh, yeah. And it's a lot of unsung heroes. You might hear about a guy coming out, pulling. He's agile. He's a meat grinder, yada, yada. But we know the tackles, that especially the left tackle, is the prominent position. That's the big mini one in the NFL. But in college, and in the NFL as well, that interior guy sometimes gets forgotten, but we need it. Yep. We need it. So let's dive right into it. Top interior O-lineman. Who's at the top of your list? How does your list look? Who should we look out for? So, like I said, when we were talking the tackles, if we're including Peter Skronsky and Paris Johnson Jr. because they both have the ability to play guard, and Skronsky's maybe a little more built for guard. They'd be 1 and 2 for me. I do expect them both to be drafted as tackle, though, so I kept them off my top 5 here. So number 1 for me is Osiris Torrance, the guard from Florida.
Oh, yeah.
He is nasty, man. And moves very well.
solid punch, doesn't lose that grip, and he will maul you. He'll drive you. He'll plant you in the ground. I love watching his tape. He was a guy that I didn't know too much about, so he was kind of like a second, maybe third round talent for me. And then I watched him right before the Senior Bowl. And I was like, okay, maybe he's like kind of sneaking into the first round. And then he put on a show at the Senior Bowl. He was planting guys in the dirt. He was locking down pass pro. He was just solid all across the board. So now he might sneak into the top 10. I've got him just outside the top 10. But from a guy that was kind of second, third round and now potentially top 10 just based on what some of these teams are taking. He's had a heck of an offseason here. Performed well. Like I said, at the Senior Bowl.
He's not small either.
No, he is a massive human being.
Right.
And like I said, moves very well for his size. Very underrated athleticism. There's a lot of teams that should be looking at this guy, and early. Number 2 for me is a guy we talked about last week. It's Cody Mock from North Dakota State.
My guy. Yes.
And the reason I have him on this list is, again, at the Senior Bowl, he played well at all 5 spots, including the center. Played well at both tackles, both guards, and in the middle at center. Pass one-on-ones did very well. The run blocking drills, again, phenomenal. This guy's made himself a ton of money this offseason as well, because he was a guy maybe a day 2, so around 2 or 3, but more than likely day 3. And now he's a guy that might slip into the end of round 1 or is very early round 2. So this guy's and he looks like a guard. If you go look at his picture and the front teeth missing and everything, he is your typical guard. Like he looks the part. So I look for him to move into guard at the next level. But again, he's a guy that played solid at all 5 spots. So who knows where he'll really end up.
Could you see so let me stop right there real quick. Could you see a team that I don't know maybe has a 16th pick? Is that too soon to go after? Because I love him, man. I love that guy. I mean, could we get him at 16 and help our inside? Man, we need a guard.
You absolutely could, and especially if that run on offensive line starts to happen, like it very well could. Because you look like Vegas at 7, Atlanta at 8 could realistically go offensive line, Chicago at 9, Tennessee at 11, Houston at 12, the Jets or Packers, whoever's picking at 13. The Patriots at 14. Like there could very well be 6-7 linemen gone in the first 20 picks. And if that happens, Cody Mock is absolutely one of them. So him at 16 is not out of the realm of possibility. I could absolutely see that. And I would love what he would bring to your offensive line.
You know who it is. You know who it is. I know it's a college show, but we in football season, baby, all year. Let's go.
Yeah.
Who else you got, man?
Number 3 for me, it's kind of a run on centers here. So John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota. It's a run on Big Ten centers here. He is massive. He's 6'5", 6'6", like 320 pounds. So he's a tackle build playing center. 4-year starter, but started very well. And he moves well because Minnesota did typically an outside zone. Exactly. So that's a guy that's got to snap and immediately go and try and get sometimes to that 3 technique over top of the guard. So you have to snap and you got to be there quick. And he did it at an elite level. Very good at moving up to the second level. Works his angles extremely well. A very, very solid guard. And the reason he's the number 1 center is he's still got that potential to grow. So he's a guy that could be like grow in his play. Sorry, not like actually grow. But there's potential for him to become even better as a blocker. Just kind of fill into that frame more and use his strength a little bit more. Like kind of learn his body a bit more, I guess is a good way to say it. So he could absolutely be one of the better centers pretty quickly into his career. Like he's good. Number 4 for me is Luke Whippler, the center from Ohio State. Again, another big body dude, 6'4", 6'5". More of that guard, big guard, small tackle kind of build. But he locked down the interior of that offensive line for the last 2 years. He's, if I'm not mistaken, he's the only third-year offensive lineman to come out. Pretty much everyone else is seniors or like redshirt juniors. He's the only one that came out as early as possible, at least of the notable guys here. So you're getting him young. He's another guy that's still just getting better every year. He's probably, Michael Schmitz is maybe late round 1, but definitely round 2. Whippler's round 2 to round 4. He's kind of got a wide range there. Just because he more specifically plays center. So it's just going to be based on when the teams actually take their centers. And Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. The exact same thing. Big 6'5", 6'6", 320, 325. This dude moves bodies. He's a mountain of a man in that middle. It's interesting that we've got so many big centers because I believe there's only like 3 or 4 centers in the NFL that are 6'6" or bigger.
Right.
So this is a big influx of giant centers. But for Tippmann being 6'6", he's very good at getting low, which for somebody that big is extremely difficult, but he bends to the knees very well, gets low, moves with a low pad level, and just he'll run you over. He is elite run blocking, and I mean, it's Wisconsin, so you kind of expect that. But
that's what they do.
Yeah, and he's a road grader. He will mow you down, and again, extremely athletic. Sneaky athleticism, able to, just like Schmitz, get to that second level quickly, get out to that 3-tech if need be. He's a good puller from the center position, which is very difficult to do, to be able to snap, and as you're snapping, turn and get going is extremely tough to do. He does a very good job of it. So yeah, those 3 Big Ten centers round out my top 5.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you know, obviously, you had to go home to the Big Ten to get your guys. But to be honest, I mean, they're getting back to doing what they do best, which is running the ball and running downhill. I know we've had, you know, the likes of JJ McCarthy's or CJ Stroud's, where it seems like the Big Ten's becoming the air it out. But don't get twisted. You still got the Wisconsins. You still got Michigan running the ball like crazy. Ohio State, even though they had injuries last year, I mean, they had 3 guys that could each carry the ball. And we've seen when we talked about tackles last time we were on here, there's 2 guys in like the top 5 in both of our top 5 lists. So, you know, they have top guys and they could definitely move the ball. My list is fairly similar to yours. I don't think we can go anywhere else, especially after the combine. But they're number 1, or Cyrus Torrence, you know, the 6'5", 347, you know, just moving guys.
Massive human being.
He has the perfect balance of the size, the speed. He's nimble, you know what I mean, and still can maul you. You know what I mean? That's exactly what you want on your inside. Number 2 for me, John Michael Schmitz, obviously. Anytime you get a guy from a Wisconsin, from a Minnesota, from these schools that primarily runs the ball, and like you mentioned, they run a lot of the zone reading, so you have to get guys out on the edge. So it's not necessarily that they're going to be the biggest, beefiest guys, but even if they are, they still have to be able to move. John Michael Schmitz is 6'4", 320. Okay. And for him to be able to come out and pull and move, I think he's going to move up like you talked about. I mean, his technical ability stands out. I mean, you combine that with the strength. He's a tough guy. And, you know, that's the type of guy you want in the middle. Number 3 for me, going to USC, protecting this year's Heisman Trophy winner at 6'6", 325, Andrew Voorhees, man. I think he's going to get in the second round, but I love his frame. I love his build. And I'm gonna be honest with you, and this isn't any kind of analysis. I love hearing about big guys coming out of USC. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
We know anybody that knows the history of USC, it was student body right, student body left. You have greats that came out of here, the Marcus Allens, you know, OJs, the Charles White, all these guys that came out of there and were balling. And then even to recent with the Reggie Bushes, these guys had lines that could move. But since they've kind of been down over the last couple of years, we haven't seen as many go up. I'm loving seeing this guy and seeing the attention that he's gotten. Number 4 is what Luke Whippler, Ohio State. I mean, like we just talked about, their line is impeccable. And to think that you have 3 guys that could go first to second round earlier in this draft.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's your rivals, and I appreciate you being able to talk about them, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's damn impressive. Yeah.
Right. You know, I know for you, it's glad to see him gone, but you know.
Oh, absolutely. Them and Stroud, they can all go on.
Right. Get out of here. I absolutely am with it. You know, and so my 5, there's been a guy that's been moving up, and he was one of those in the national championship game, and he came from school we're not all as familiar with Texas Christian, TCU.
He's my number 6.
Yep, there it is.
Yep.
You know, I love his size, being 6'4", 330, having a bigger guy, but he's a consensus All-American in 2022. And look, a lot of times we obviously look at the playmakers, the Quentin Johnsons, you talked about the Kendrick Miller, the running back. Max Duggan obviously was in the Heisman race, but these are the guys that you might not hear about, and they can get it done at different angles. You got this guy that in the NFL most likely will play guard, but he has 13 snaps playing at center. So you're talking versatility. You're talking being able to play multiple positions. That's absolutely huge. But like you said, with yours and mine, my 6 was your 5 or your 4. You know what I mean? It's all in the same.
And Andrew Voorhees was in my top 5 until he tore his ACL at the combine.
Yeah.
That's what slid him out. And then he still went out after tearing his ACL and did like 35 reps on the bench press. Like, it was just insane.
And see,
absolutely
that's the thing.
Insane.
So before last year, as soon as I would have seen that, I'm cutting him. I'm done. It's going to take too long to get him. Obviously, their draft stock was going to drop. We had a guy, came from you guys, went to the Ravens, David Ajobo. We saw what happened to him, where he got hurt, and they still took the chance on him. The guy that went to your other team, Detroit, Jameson Williams. We saw it happen to him in the national championship game. He was able to play. I feel like nowadays with our medicine, it's still, he's going to slide, obviously, with the injury, but you can still get this guy in here, and with our training and everything, bring these guys back up to at least close, if not exactly where they were prior to the injury. It's just not as crippling as it was before.
Yeah. Oh, and him sliding just means somebody's going to get an absolute steal, because this is a guy that was round 2 creeping up potentially round 1 for me. And then that slid him into round 3 for me, but it just means somebody's getting a day 1 starter at guard as soon as he's healthy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that and you cannot go wrong with any of these guys in your interior. Like I told you, you said Mock was your 2. I put him at my 6, but more so I'm trying to hide him from other teams because I want Cody Mock on my offense. As soon as I saw the smile with the no teeth, I said he's a hog. He's a hog. He's a hog, baby. Bring him in. Let's go. So I'm excited to see what these guys bring to the table. And hey, these are the type of guys that you're going to want. If you're talking about building that line, getting them young, you know what I mean? With the exception of maybe the first 2 that might get a pretty hefty contract. The rest, you're getting them on that rookie deal and get them 3-4 years and work them under that, man. That's the best option, man. But let's stick with the top 5. Who is right outside? Not necessarily a sleeper, but who's right outside your top 5?
So yeah, for me, Steve Avila was 6. Andrew Voorhees was 7, and for me, Olu Oluwatimi, the center from Michigan, was 8.
So that's what I was surprised you didn't say earlier. Yeah.
So he was the best center in college football last year.
Right.
He won the Remington Award for the best center, and the I believe it's the Outland Trophy for the best overall interior lineman, both offense and defense. What slides him down a bit for me is, and I get really nitpicky with him because I watched obviously a lot of tape on him this year.
Yeah.
Sometimes he tends to lose his grip a little bit on the interior, and he doesn't always have that lower body strength he needs to move those guys.
Gotcha.
So he's going to get on the block and kind of be in the way, but he doesn't necessarily always get to the next step of it like Michael Schmitz and Whippler and those guys, where they'll drive him back and run him over. Yeah. He's still a solid potential starter in the NFL, but he doesn't have that next level of violence like those guys do. He's got all the technique and the talent in the world. It's just he's got to get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and then he'll be great.
Gotcha. Yeah. But see, so he has room to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And another thing that knocks him down is he's a 6-year guy, so he's a bit older. So typically the younger guys that are at that level go earlier. So Oluwatimi will go round 3, round 4, round 5, but it's a guy that'll have a chance to compete for a starting job depending on where he goes.
Yeah. I can dig it. Yeah, Oluwatimi Avili. Yeah, so that's interesting. For me, it was along those lines. That was somebody I was interested. Obviously, I told you my guy Cody Malk at 6. But yeah, they were still right in there. And it's still one of those guys that I'm keeping an eye on. Maybe I won't go in the first round to get, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on saying, okay, if they're still there when we come back around, let's potentially take a shot on one of these guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick little breather and come back to you on the other side talking about actually just put up sleeper. I don't know why I put that up. But on the other side to actually talk about our sleeper offensive lineman. We'll be right back. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Sean Spencer on this Let's Talk College Football. One time a show, it has to happen, baby. One time a show. My guy Alex Loosemore on Let's Talk College Football. Want to shout out some people watching. Ben Cornette says, "Geez, who's picking at 16?" You know who it is. You know. I would take that guy from Minnesota, John Jacob Chico. Yes. Andrew Voorhees' brother, by the way, was quite a character back in the day. Question is, does Andrew have the same killer instinct as his brother?
He's nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. As said, well, Alec, the last name is Voorhees, and he definitely would have that. Yeah. Answer the old question. Oh, Ben, appreciate you being here in the comments, man. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about interior O-linemen coming up in the 2023 draft. The 2023 draft will be held in the last weekend of April 26th through the
27th.
27th
April 29th, yeah.
April 27th through the 29th. And I know you guys, NFL Edition, will be covering it all 3 days. Yes.
No, we're not doing that this year.
No. Oh, you're not? Okay.
So currently the plan is me and Andrew are actually going live day 1 and day 2 for New Sports Dynasty. So that's my plan currently, and then might do day 3 if I'm feeling it, but I doubt it because that was a lot last year.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Let's Talk Football will be sprinkled into whatever shows are going on. I do not think that the Roundtable will be doing a show this year. Yeah, we did one 2 years ago in Chicago. Last year I was in New Orleans, but the Swintons did it from Arizona. So hey, East Coast, West Coast, North, South, we're all covering it, getting it done.
Yes, sir.
But like I alluded to before, let's go into. We're talking interior O-linemen. We talked about the guys that might be more well known. Let's talk about some of these sleepers. Some of these guys that maybe people haven't necessarily heard of, or was just deeper on some teams that they haven't looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got 3 here. One's kind of it's a tackle we talked about last week as a sleeper at the tackle position. It's Matthew Bergeron from Syracuse. He's a guy that I've heard a lot of teams are kind of liking him across all 5 spots again. I don't know that I'd put him at center, but I do like him at both tackle and guard. So he's got that versatility there. So he's a guy to kind of keep an eye on at the guard position. Another center / guard, Jarrett Patterson from Notre Dame. Yes. He's a guy that he was number 1 at the interior offensive line position to start the year. And then he just stayed solid, but everyone else got so good that they're kind of passing him over. And he's still a very good player to get. He's just going to end up in the 3rd, 4th round, kind of like Oluwatimi there. Mm-hmm. And then the last one for me, a guy that's definitely on day 3, that 4th through 6th round kind of player, but is still solid, is Emil Achior from Alabama. Big guy, able to move people in the run game. Yeah, he's solid. Just Alabama didn't have quite the year they typically have, so he slid a little bit. But it's another guy that could compete for a starting job in a year or 2 here. So he's another guy to definitely keep an eye on.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I've Jarrett Patterson is one that I've been watching Notre Dame this year, obviously, and Jarrett Patterson is a guy that I've kept my eye on, is really controlling the middle of that line. He showed North Carolina when they got us. Also out of Ole Miss, Nick Broker. Out of Ole Miss, he's been coming up as of late. And then the name out of the schools you don't hear of, McClendon Curtis. I've seen some of his stuff. It has potential. But it's kind of like some of those edge rushers and stuff that we talked about in time, from like Stephen F. Austin or the guy Andre Carter from Army, who has potential. They have heart and everything, but you wonder how it's going to translate, how it's going to move to the NFL. So some of these guys maybe have to get on the right team. But Jarrett Patterson, I think, is somebody that could actually make a significant difference. Especially in the middle of that line, man. So
if you get him, that's somebody that in training camp is fighting for a starting spot year 1. He's a very solid player. Like I said, he dropped because he just kind of stayed the same, and then everyone else kind of soared up. So he's up amongst, like I said, him and Oluwatimi are probably the 2 best centers overall in this draft, and they're gonna go day 3 more than likely. So it's just some of these other guys, they have that potential to them, so they kind of soared up. But these guys are guys that are going to walk in and compete for a starting spot day 1.
Oh yeah. Now you got a couple other names. I'm going back to Wisconsin. Joe Tipman.
He was my number 5.
There it is. Yeah. And again, a lot of times you have these guys that played along the line with other great guys, and they got opportunities to, get some more eyes on them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we want to kind of bring some of these guys up. Who else do you have? Anybody?
That Stromberg from Arkansas that you were just going to talk about there, I really like him. That's kind of, I just wrote down a few of the sleepers, but that was all the names I had.
Yeah. So that's definitely something. Now these guys, I've seen some that could potentially go maybe 2nd, 3rd. But are these guys? You think these guys are dropping farther down the list, or is it kind of like what you mentioned with once you kind of get a run on linemen, these guys might actually get picked up a little earlier than maybe they would have otherwise.
Yeah, so currently, and it's just the fact that there's so many good interior offensive linemen this year that it's going to be, there's going to be early and often, and you're going to get starting caliber guys in the 5th round probably this year for interior guys. So you'll probably see a run early, and then it'll kind of die down a bit, and then you'll see a run on day 3. But like 5, 6, maybe 7 of these interior guys are probably gone by the 3rd round. That's fairly realistic this year.
Oh, I love that. So definitely, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned to see when these guys kind of fall. And another reason why we're giving you these names is so that when they come up, you can be like, oh, that's who Alex mentioned. That's the guy Sean was talking about. Kind of keeping you guys, abreast of, some of the guys that have played for all these years, but might not get a lot of the attention. Sometimes, and you could speak to this more than I can, being in the trenches, that's not the glory position,
Yeah, typically your name only gets called when you mess up. So,
right.
Very, very few people, if you're good, know your name. So,
right. From a running back, I mean, that first person we ran to wasn't the pretty boy quarterbacks. It wasn't the diva wide receivers. It was the old lineman. That's why a lot of times you see in the league when a running back scores, he gives the ball to the old lineman. So they give them the opportunity to do the spike and the whole 9. So yeah, my line was my best friend. So let's go there.
Oh yeah.
So hey, we've seen it. We've seen it from this year. This is kind of what we're looking at coming into the draft, coming up at the end of April. But speaking of the draft, obviously, we had guys from a year ago from the inside. There's a lot of that I know maybe didn't do the best, but there are guys that, showed up when they got the opportunity. I know we could speak from a Washington perspective. Chris Paul out of Oklahoma State. We mentioned him, road grader, guy he's a maul. He can run the ball. He just moves people out of the way. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, but he got time to sit back and watch. We had other guys ahead of him, so he wasn't getting all of the play time. You know what I mean? But when he got his opportunity, he showed up and he looked good. So what are you thinking from last year? Who are some guys that, obviously jumped off the board, and even though they might not have got picked at maybe the higher spot, but who were your top 5 from last year?
So I think number 1 for me would be Zion Johnson. He showed up and showed out in LA. That was a great pick for them, for the Chargers there. I'll throw Cole Strange up there just because he did a lot better than I thought he would. Yeah. That was the guy when the Patriots picked him in the 1st round. I was like, okay, are we really picking this guy?
Right.
But it was that typical Belichick pick where you question it, but the kid shows out. He played very well this year. And he's going to be a guy they kind of look to lead that offensive line this year because there's not much there anymore. There's not much left. Number 3 for me. Chris Paul, like you said, I like him a lot. And I like what he's going to bring to Washington, especially with whatever guard you get to pair with him. Yeah. Number 4 for me, I'll say Dylan Parham from Vegas. Yeah. He's a guy that he kind of struggled early, but settled in and played well as the season progressed, and closer to the end of the year, he played very well. And number 5 for me, I'll say Zach Tom, the one that went to Green Bay, I believe from Wake Forest. He was a guy that was supposed to be a developmental guy, but got tossed into the fire when Bakhtiari went down and Runyon went down, and they had injuries all across that offensive line. And he played the majority of the spots across that line. He played both guard spots, and I believe he played both tackle spots, and kind of got tossed into the fire and played fairly well. So he's a guy that, whether he's at guard or tackle for the future for Green Bay, that's a guy they got in the 5th round. That's a very solid prospect for them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, some of those guys weren't great at some of them, especially ones that I talked about. Kenyon Green.
Yeah, he was disappointing.
That one got me because I was shouting his praises last year, like, "Oh, get him, bring him, I want to get him," and it just didn't pan out. Now, mind you, he was at Houston, but still, I expected so much more from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but he was a guy I had going top 10 last year. I had him going 7 to the New York Giants, and when he slid all the way to 17 or whatever it was in Houston got him, I was like, this is a steal, like great pick, like starting guard day one, and he totally flopped last year. Now we'll see if he can bounce back this year. But yeah, last year did not look good.
It didn't. It was rough to watch. But it also allows us. It allows everybody to know. Ain't no expert on here. You know what I mean? We watch all the same film. We watch all the drills. We watch all that stuff. But sometimes you just can't call it. Sometimes you can't get inside of here, man. And it just did not work out for him. I'm gonna throw you a couple more names. Marquise Hayes out of Oklahoma. And obviously a lot of attention was given to Tyler Lindenbaum last year out of Iowa. What did you think about how they did?
Hayes was solid. I mean, he kind of earned his way into some playing time and played fairly well once he got it. Linderbaum, for me, though, he was good. I liked him a lot. I mean, I loved him coming out of Iowa. That was a guy that, for me, if you were doing a big board last year, he was a top 10 overall talent, in my opinion. And even though he was a little bit small for the NFL at center, he showed out. He played fairly well. I mean, it took him a little bit to get going, as it does most young offensive linemen. But once he settled in, he played very well. And that's a very solid guy for Baltimore to use in the interior for years to come.
Yeah. And if they continue to do what they love to do, which is run the ball, you got your guy. But as we know, we don't know if that offense is going to stay the same now that obviously Greg Roman is no longer there. And apparently their quarterback wants out. So we'll see how that whole thing plays out.
We'll see how that goes.
And follow up for updates on NFL Edition Thursday nights, because I know they'll give you anything breaking. News. Oh my goodness! But look, hey, I asked you this last week, and I'm going to ask you again for this week. I asked you about your Mr. Irrelevant tackle. Do you have a Mr. Irrelevant guard from last year?
Oh, from last year. Okay, let's take a look at the ones that were drafted way late there. That's a good question.
And I mean, if you have one for this year, you can definitely share that one out.
Okay, well, this actually works out because I can rep my Michigan boys again. But Andrew Stuber went to the Patriots late 7th round, and again, kind of was one of those role players that competed for that playing time with injuries and everything. Came in and did fairly well. Wasn't great by any means, but he was a solid guard for New England last year. And for this year, that's a good one. I don't know that I really have one. Because it's kind of tough to tell when that run on the lineman's going to end in that day 3. Like, are most of the guys going to go round 5 and round 6, and then there's not much left for round 7, or like it's kind of tough to place. So I'll say I don't really have one for interior.
Okay. I like that. Hey, look, I would love it if the lineman went higher. For those of you that don't know, I have a show on Wednesdays called Washington Football Weekly, and every year going into the season, we'll do a mock 53-man roster. If you ever look at my rosters, I have like 12, 13, 14 O-linemen. All right. Part of that is because Washington seems to be prone to injury, and we need multiple lineups of O-line. But the other part is that that's a luxury. You can never have too many linemen, especially if you have like a second level that's not as good, but they're willing to move up and start working. I love that. I'm a huge O-line guy, so the fact that these guys potentially are going to move up and we're going to start seeing more guys come off the board, Oh yeah, I'm loving that. I know you love that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love any chance to see these big guys go early.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, yo, ladies and gentlemen, those were our last year's Interior O-Lineman. And look, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming close to the end of the show. It's a short show this week. We wanted to break down the tackles and the interior line as opposed to just doing them all at once. There's a lot of information, but I had to give my guy the opportunity to talk about what he loves, talk about what he's passionate about. So, but look, you know what it is when you have a guy like this on your O-line and you've been running it down their throat and you score, you don't kick the field goal, or the extra point, you go for 2. Yeah, buddy. So we are going for 2 today. My going for 2 really quickly is sometimes it's good to hold things in. This is not about football. This is just about life. Sometimes it's good to hold things in and, mum's word and, you don't need to rock the boat or anything like that. But there are certain times where you got to put your foot down and say something, say what's on your mind. You got to let whoever be your friend, your family, your job, whatever, let them know that, hey, there are certain things that I think need to be done differently or something like that. But you need to step up and put your foot down and do it because other than that, you will be susceptible to being run over or being a doormat or being all that stuff. And it's not easy. Don't get it twisted. I'm somebody that does not like conflict. If it's up to me, let me just sit back here, do my little shows, and just leave me be. But there is times when it's inevitable. Yeah, that's right. Cool. There's times when it's inevitable, and you got to just put your foot down and do it. But when you just be firm and be strong in who you are, and I be honest with you, every time I've had that situation with another person, I respect them more because we're trying to get to a better place. We're trying to move on and get, progress. So that's what it should be about, man. So that's my going for 2 today. Alex, what you got, man?
So I'll use one that's kind of related to these prospects, but could also be something going on in your life. If you got something big coming up, a big opportunity, something, lock in, put in the work and make it happen. Just do whatever you got to do to succeed at it.
Yep. I love that. Oh, yeah. You got to. You absolutely have to. So, look, ladies and gentlemen, we so appreciate you being here with us on this Tuesday night. Let's talk college football. Because if you know, like we know, college football is 12 months out of the year, 365 days. Does not stop. Does not stop. Oh, really quickly, and I wanted to do this, and I want to add this in because once I found out that you were back and revamped, and you were telling me about your dynasty, I want to do dynasty updates, man.
All right.
I want to do dynasty. So, how is things going with you and your dynasty? Is this year 6? You said to me, or
yeah, just starting year 6. Yeah, so I took over James Madison, and so I started off. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Weird. Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, buddy. Stay tuned. Yeah, you got to hear this because we've been talking about it. For those of you that don't know, we are huge college football fans, obviously. But what we do, we love playing.
Can you hear me?
No. Wow. What? I can't hear you still. All right. We might have to delay this talk. I don't know why I can't. It says it's working on my. I don't know why I can't hear you. Try again.
Did that work?
Nothing. Oh. This is the part I was waiting for. Oh. Hey, if you know our show, if you know Let's Talk College Football, something like this happens each part of the show. Hey, we're going to go ahead and end it here. I'm going to talk to him about it after, no doubt about it. Hey, you know what it is. It's your boy, Sean Spencer. My guy, Mr. Alex Loosemore. We appreciate you being here with us. Stay tuned. Next time, we're talking I think we said interior lineman or wide receiver. You'll put it in the chat. What do we say? Wide receiver. This is hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to understand. One time the show, my guy, something will happen and he'll click out and then he'll come in. Normally it's during the first little break that we do. We've never had the audio issue, but my guy's typing me stuff here. Look, we got to let you go, man. We got to figure this out. Hey, appreciate you guys being with us. Yo, until next time, we will see you soon.